guys, it's early morning here at PSR. We just loaded up Mike's Malibu. Last night we were on the dyno with it, and we got done basically tuning everything for the new carburetor and running E85. Before we used to run race gas, now we're running E85. We ran it on a 200 shot, a 300 shot, and I'm set up to also go to a 400 shot of nitrous. We're a little tired, we're a little wired, but we're really ready to see what this car is going to do today. Fortunately, for me, I get to drive, so I'm trying to be a little bit more enthusiastic about doing some videos moving forward. I'm working with Samantha, who has the camera right now, and we're going to start working forward to try and put out more videos and do more stuff with Ace Tuned and try and continue to grow my channel. I had a lot going on when I first started the channel. It worked out really well. I've just been so busy here at PSR, I just haven't had time to really sit down and edit and put together footage. We have so much footage over the last couple months that we've shot that we just never have put out. So today is our first one. We're gonna try and start something fresh and go to the track, have some fun, and see what goes on. So we're headed to Cecil County Raceway, and we're gonna see what happens. Let's go. Time, right? Okay. Oh, they're doing that lane first. They're doing two. Get it back. We got 15 minutes.
You leave the oxygen on.
So this side's good. You're good too? Maybe I just need to get it cleaned out. I'm sitting there just idling and the fucking hits like that.
Dude, they're gonna run the bikes next. Fuck you.
This is thick.
They're gonna run the bike.
everybody. So it's Sunday morning. We did all of our testing yesterday at Cecil and came home. I unloaded the car real quick at it was like 9 o'clock. I got it out of the trailer and, just unloaded it and headed out. This morning, I was curious, wanted to kind of go over some of our data from our last run. The last run we did, basically when I came back around, I loaded the car right in the trailer and we went home. I got the data I needed then, but I didn't look over what we had data recorded on our grid and also on a nitrous controller. So I wanted to go over that data today and also do our other checks like valve lash, make sure that the spark plugs look okay, all that kind of stuff. And also in that second run I did, there was a little bit of a hiccup in it and I wasn't really sure what it was. It kind of sounds like I shift the car and you'll hear it here. And when that happened, it wasn't actually a shift. I'm not sure what it was. I have determined it to an extent, but I don't have 100%, that I know exactly what it was. What it seemed like was that the car misfired. And there's a couple reasons why that could happen. For us, we're pulling a lot of timing running the amount of nitrous we are, and a lot of times what will happen with a distributor is you run off of the edge of the rotor on the distributor cap. So I checked the rotor phase and made sure everything was good there, and it was to where it's, it's okay. But what I want to do is I actually want to switch us over to a bigger distributor cap. The one we have now is this small guy, you can see him here. And, it's not really, for the amount of timing we're pulling, it kind of runs it on the edge of what it has to work with. It's also an older cap, it's been on the car for 2 years. So we're gonna switch it over to a new one. I'm gonna get that later, today's Sunday, so I'll probably get it Tuesday when I order tomorrow. So I'm gonna take care of that. A couple of little things, some maintenance, stuff like that we're gonna do this week, and then we're gonna get ready to race it on Friday at Maple Grove. I'm gonna be driving the car again, so I wanna kind of go over some stuff this week, double check a couple things, go from there, get everything where we need to be. My big thing that I wanted to look at more than anything was our spark plugs. And here you can see them. They look pretty good. I'm not in love with a couple things, but at the same time, they're in pretty good shape. I didn't burn any straps back. That's usually the biggest thing with a nitrous car. Otherwise, everything looks good. Our heat range is perfect. Our spark lines are right there where we want them to be. We got good fuel burn. If anything, there's a couple little adjustments I want to make, but I can't really, because we had that breakup on that pass, I can't really notate that the spark line is exactly where it needs to be. The other side of it as well is we didn't have our golf cart with us, so we weren't pushing the car. A lot of times what you want to do is do your pass, shut the car off, and then, drag it back to the pits with your golf cart or, whatever you have. With me driving it, it does change the plug read a little bit, but it's still a fresh set of plugs from, basically to the trailer and back to the trailer through the pass. So it does give us some information. The information that I'm mostly looking for more than anything is that it's not burning the plug apart. We're not seeing any, checking on the plug. We're not seeing it burn the straps off, any of that kind of stuff. And this is some of the stuff that we were fighting with before that when I went and I put the tune-up in it that I wanted to do and set it the way that I would like it to be, everything started to come around. So you get a little bit of information with this car because a lot of people know Mike and his cars and stuff like that, but I'll go over a little bit with what this car is and kind of explain a little bit deeper for the people that maybe are more watching my channel and don't really know much about Mike Serrano and this car particularly. So this is a 432 small block that we just redid here at the shop. I put a new set of pistons, rings, and bearing set in it to refresh it. I guess that was about a month ago. Kind of went over some stuff and just preliminarily set things where we need to be. This carburetor is a carb that's made by TRC carburetors down in Florida. I'm very close with Craig down there, and we work quite a bit together, and he's a good amount of knowledge to work with me as well. And what this carburetor is, it's a billet dual blade. I don't know how well you can see it. I'm trying to shine my light in there. But instead of having 4 Venturi valves, basically butterflies, it has 2 big blades. Makes it a little bit different. It flows air a little bit differently, but it does work well. This car fires right up, runs and cruises nice.
and everything. It's, you know, as you can see, it's the whole carburetor is billet, it's black anodized, and it's made to run on E85. That was our big thing. We had a Dominator on this before. It ran Q16. The car went the same as what I went yesterday, but now, you know, we were able to run those same speeds with it being, you know, on E85, which is a lot cheaper. You know, E85 is like $3 something a gallon, where Q16 is like over $10 a gallon. So it's a lot cheaper to run it. The other cool part about this car, and I'll walk back here and show you, is we are running it on nitrous, and it is a full interior car. I like to call it grandma's couch. And then at the same time, in the trunk, we have our nano nitrous system, similar to what we have on the CTSV that you guys have seen on my channel before. So with the nano system, what this does is it has this small scuba bottle, and that scuba bottle actually puts pressure into the nitrous bottle and keeps the nitrous bottle maintained at pressure throughout the pass. So a lot of times when you tune a nitrous car on the dyno and then at the track when you're running it, you're gonna wanna set your bottle pressure. You usually do that with heat. So you'll heat the bottle up, you'll get the bottle to where it needs to be. The pressure I usually go for is 950. Throughout a pull, that nitrous pressure will drop. So when you tune the car on the dyno, let's say you're looking for an AFR of 11.8, okay? And you run it at 950 PSI in a bottle, you have your nitrous jet, you have your fuel jet, and those two jets are gonna give you your nitrous fuel mixture, okay? Now, with the nano system, it will maintain the nitrous pressure somewhere around 50 pounds from where you started, okay? What I typically see is if I leave it 950, it'll stay about 920 the entire way through the pass. With our, we have a Nitrous Express Maximizer progressive controller on this, and I have a sensor in the fuel side and also in the nitrous side to maintain our readings, so I can see, you know, how much fuel pressure we have the whole way through the run, and also how much nitrous pressure. So on our last pass I did, the nitrous pressure stayed right around 920 the whole way through. And I've data logged this on other setups before, and on a setup where you don't have the nano. I'm not saying the nano is the end all be all. It has its quirks and pain in the ass parts of it as well. But on other setups, what you can sometimes end up with is you leave at 950 and you're finishing the run somewhere in the 700s. It can go even lower depending on how much bottle you have left or what size your bottle is. That's a 15-pound bottle. Most bottles are gonna be 10-pound bottles. It depends though. Certain cars running a lot more nitrous are gonna obviously run a bigger bottle. So that being said, with that nitrous pressure falling, you know, 200 PSI, what you'll actually see is the car will fatten up on the back end. And what does that do? It slows it down. You know, the more fuel you give it, the more it's gonna, you know, kind of fall off on power and obviously slow the car up. So what the Nano is able to do is able to keep the car consistent so that you don't have those types of issues, okay? Not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's not bad that the car fattens up, but the main thing more than anything is that if you set up a nitrous system, you wanna set it to what your leaving pressure is, okay? So if you're gonna leave it 1,000 PSI, you're gonna leave it 950 PSI, whatever the case is, you wanna make sure that you tune your fuel side to fit that. Because if you don't, what you're gonna end up with is you're gonna end up with a system that is inconsistent, okay? And let's say you tuned it on 850 PSI, but you're leaving at 950, and your AFR was set correctly with the way it was on the dyno at 850. Now you're gonna be lean, and it's gonna burn stuff up, hurt everything, whatever. And nitrous is a finicky little bitch, and when you have the fuel too lean, it burns everything really fast. It's not, there's no time for you can't have a mulligan and be like, oh, I messed it up once and that's it. No, it's one time and done. Like it literally, it'll just torch plugs right away, okay? And we've been there. Everybody has, if they're really doing this, you know, things happen, and you know, especially when you're trying to figure things out. The best way I always say to go with a nitrous setup is to try and make it fat and then bring it back, okay? For us, with the E85, it's kind of it's finicky. You know, basically when you have a nitrous setup with a plate like we have, it gives you a chart. You know, it says, hey, run this jet for, you know, for your nitrous and run this jet for your pump gas, race gas, whatever. And each fuel has its different storage point. So, you know, if you're running 93 or if you're running C16, the jet is gonna be about the same for the two of them, for your fuel. Now, if you run something like Q16, you actually need a little bit more fuel with Q because Q has an extra oxygen atom in it. So that extra little bit of oxygen will actually make it leaner. So you run about, it's about like 5% more fuel roughly. Usually, so like if your Stoich is 14.7 on regular pump gas, non-ethanol, if I remember correctly, like the number on Q16, I think is 13.7 or 13.5, somewhere around there. So it's almost like a whole point richer that it has a Stoich point, okay? Now E is something like 9 something, it's crazy. But the thing with E, the rule of thumb is 30% more is what you need. If you go off the chart that comes with our nitrous plate, it tells you to run a bigger jet, but not 30% bigger. So like, if you take the jet and you multiply it by 1.3 that it asks for pump gas, it's not the one they're telling us to use. And the issue we actually had here was we put the jet in that they call for and it torched plugs right away. And it didn't hurt anything else, but it torched plugs. And it's like, okay, well, there's a problem. So going back, you know, I did what I would normally do. And I went and I took my pill for the fuel and I was like, okay, it's X number, multiplied it by 1.3. And it actually gave it to where we have a square jet. So if I'm calling for an 80 jet in the nitrous, I'm putting an 80 jet in the fuel as well. And that's getting us to where you see the plugs you see now. We didn't have that before I set the nitrous the way I wanted it to be and all that. So the other fine line that you can do as well is you have to flow nitrous. And when you do the nitrous flow on the fuel, I have a gauge that do it, and you set your fuel pressure to what the chart calls for. It's usually like 7 pounds, somewhere on there. This chart calls for 7 to 10, we're set at 8. If I wanted to fatten this up now, what I could do instead of changing the pill is I could give it a little bit more fuel pressure, and it will give it a little bit more fuel on the nitrous side, and it will fatten it up. Same goes if I want to lean it out. If I wanted to only make a small adjustment, maybe I wanted to go from 11.5 to 11.8, instead of changing the pill, I can take this, you know, we have our secondary regulator right here. I can lean that regulator out, and when I lean that regulator out, it will lean out the nitrous side. So instead of being at 8 pounds, if I take about the 7, it'll make that small, minute change without having to go and change pills. Maybe you don't have them, you know, it could be something as simple as that. Obviously you need to have a sufficient amount of fuel pressure there. You couldn't run it on like 2 pounds. I guess you could, but it wouldn't go very well. So something to keep in mind, you know, we had a really good test day yesterday. I was happy with the way things went. Even with the car hiccuping on that second run, I didn't get exactly the ET I was looking for, but the car is right where it was before, and on E85, which was our whole goal at the beginning of the season to begin with when we got this carburetor from TRC. Our entire goal was we want to run the car on E. We want it to be a street, strip, you know, drivable car where it can be cruised around and have fun and so on and so forth. So I think we got that. You know, we're still doing some fine tuning as far as the nitrous side of it goes on the track. You know, there's always some power to be had and stuff like that. So we're gonna make a couple more adjustments here. I'm gonna work on that this week and get it together. And hopefully my ass stays in gear here, that I get this video out before we go to the track on Friday so that I can turn around and do the same thing for next, you know, week and put out the video from us racing on Friday. And then we're actually going to be racing this car again the following Friday again at Maple Grove. So we'll have basically 3, you know, sessions here all together between Cecil yesterday and the next 2 Fridays. You know, we'll be running this car and getting some data from it and hopefully fine tuning it and, you know, having some fun. So thanks for tuning in, and see you guys on the next one.